And here we go. All right. Well, welcome, guys. I'm really excited about tonight, and this is part 4 in the series that we've had, and I know a lot of you guys have already connected in with the other ones that we've done. The first one that we did was an introduction to songwriting, where we looked at writing the songs and the sounds that releasing the songs that will carry the nation forward, and carry the church forward, and I know a lot of you guys from that, there were some songwriting groups formed, and there are people in here that have been releasing new songs, which is awesome. The second one that we did was looking at church copyright. Now that we've written a song, how do we actually register it with copyright, and learning about what the role that CCLI plays in that whole process, with royalties and all of that type of stuff. The third one that we did a couple of weeks ago was with Matt Paul Cooper, how to work with a music producer, and using, a music producer taking what we've got and making something refined and polished with it. And once you've got that final song, once you've got something that is registered, that, that your church is doing, that is refined and polished, what is the next step? What is the next step to getting your song out there into the airwaves and into into the hearts and the homes of people around the nation and the nations. And, I don't look at this type of thing and I don't think it's a bad thing to aspire to get your music out there. I think within the church, we can kind of have this like, oh, it's selfish to want to get your music out there, but isn't it, we need to go out and evangelize, tell the whole world, and we're in an age of social media, we're in an age of media where there are processes to getting our stuff out there. There are ways that work and there are ways that don't. And, I believe that we as Christians and as ministers need to be savvy with that. So I am so blessed to be able to ask Cameron Gullo, welcome Cameron, to come in and join us tonight. Now, Cameron, I'm going to let you do a bit of an introduction on who you are, what you do, but I can tell you that I don't know whether it was on your Instagram account, I saw a sneaky picture behind Delta Goodrum the other day. Was that correct?
Yeah, but more importantly, behind Darlene Check.
Yeah, I saw that as well. I'm like, mate, you're in the company of royalty everywhere.
Yeah, that was me with a beautiful red bow tie.
That's awesome, man. Well, welcome and thank you for being a part of what we're doing. And let me just pray for everyone. Have I already prayed for everyone here? We prayed before? No, let's just pray. Father, we just thank you for this night. Lord, I just thank you for Cameron. I just thank you for the wealth of knowledge and wisdom and skill set and experience he has in this, Father. Lord, I just thank you for everyone joining us. Lord, I just pray that this is a time of inspiring and equipping, Lord, and it's all for your glory in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. So welcome everyone that's just tuned in, and Cameron, take it away, my friend.
Epic. Well, first of all, g'day everyone. Such an honor to be here. And Josh, thanks so much, brother. It really actually is an honor that you'd asked me to come and share. And I just believe so much in what you're building here, bro. So thank you, dude, for having me. And I hope we can all walk away with just, even if it's just one or two little bits tonight that help us along the way. But good to see some familiar faces as well. Hi, Tula. And I noticed a number of your names from the Australian Worship Network page. I've been an early member myself, an early contributing member. I've earned myself the top contributor badge, which I'm happy about. I wear that proudly. But hi, my name's Cam Gullo. Tonight's called Releasing Your Song with Impact. I've come up with a new title, which is Getting to the Point with Cam Gullo. So we're gonna really just get to the point about how to release your song with impact. So hopefully, I know it's actually going to be like information stacked, and you'll be like, "What?" But I haven't left anything out. I'm just gonna give it to you. So I grew up as a pastor's kid, just playing on the worship team. So I kind of grew up in church, doing the Christian music thing in many respects, as a volunteer and just as a parishioner. The last 3.5 years, I've been professionally working in the music business. As Josh beautifully outed me, I've been playing with Delta Goodrum for the last couple of years, touring with her, which has been cool. but managing a bunch of Christian artists, both artists and worship groups. So one of my main artists, his name's Alexander Pappas. He's one of the frontmen from Young and Free, and he does his own sort of solo worship thing now, which is doing well. And I work with a bunch of different worship groups. I've worked with City Point in Brisbane. I've worked with C3 Oxford Falls. I've done some work with who else? A few, I suppose. So I was working for previously as well with Hillsong Publishing as the publisher there, and managing a bunch of different artists, both at Alex's level and across the spectrum. So really, over the last 3.5 years, as a manager, you really touch everything from labels, publishing, marketing, distribution, contracts, you name it. As a manager, there's not really anything you don't touch. So it is definitely, if you're looking at getting a full-on, start to finish crash course on the music industry, become a music manager. You'll learn a lot. So that's a little bit about me. And looking forward, well, I mean, I'm based in Sydney now. My wife and I are moving to Nashville at the end of January, maybe for a year or more, maybe 2 years, to kind of keep learning and keep developing, in the hopes that we can bring a lot of that industry back here to Australia and keep championing Australian worship. So that's a little bit about me. I'm gonna jump straight into it. So I noticed a few of you guys have got your cameras off, which is okay. Feel free to throw this answer in the chat. But I am going to make a few assumptions here. Firstly, that you're all probably Jesus followers, like Christians, I'm guessing. And so we're gonna talk a lot about Christian music. But the other assumption I'll make, and tell me if I'm wrong with the thumbs up, thumbs down. But we're here to talk music business. All right. So guys, I'm a full-on, totally sold out Jesus freak, all that. But tonight we're going to talk business. All right. So, this isn't I'm not giving a talk to a creative team and doing all that. Like, I'm actually here to talk shop. Okay. So I just want to give context, great heaps of thumbs up. So I want to give context, guys. Yes. Like, I'm not talking scripture tonight. I'm here to kind of equip you guys in real world. How do we get music out there? How do we make it effective? Because the world's doing it, and I want to reclaim the airwaves. I want to reclaim all the editorial play. I want to reclaim everything. I want Jesus music to be the biggest music in the world. And so to do that, we obviously need God to breathe on things in a massive way, but God's also given us the tools to make it happen. And I want to faithfully steward that. So they're my assumptions. You're all Christians. We're here to learn about the music business. And so that's really what I'm going to focus on. So I want to just start by kind of asking everyone a question, just to introspectively, I'm saying that wrong. My wife's going to kill me, but answer yourselves. Are we, when looking at a career or looking at releasing music, are we here to build a career in music, or are we just here for fun? And there's not a wrong answer. It's just going to shape how you approach things. When I speak to artists at varying levels, a lot of people just want to put out a song. Hey, I felt like the Lord's dropped this song in my spirit. I want to get it out there. Hey, that's so good. Like, here's kind of 5 things you can do to make that happen real quick, right? However, I'm into career building. Again, we're here to talk business. So my mind is, hey, it's not just a flash in the pan, one song and done. I'm working with artists. It's a career. Worship groups, it's career. It's decades long. That's kind of the approach that I'm coming with. So I believe every artist or every songwriter, hey, just kind of know what it is you're trying to achieve. If it's just, hey, I feel like the Holy Spirit gave me a song, that's totally cool. But know that. Whereas a lot of what I'm talking about tonight is career building. Is okay, cool. It's not just about first song. It's actually about 5th song. What about 10th song? What about album number 2? What about album number 5?
Wow.
So it's something that I think everyone needs to know themselves. But a few things about the industry, I thought it'd be good to kind of frame just kind of where things are at. At the moment, 120,000 songs approximately come out every single day.
Wow.
Day. So, that's about 1 million. That's close to 1 million songs a week. So the sheer volume of noise, and then that's commercially released songs, let alone just how many things post and email and share. Like, it's just insane. So, it's an uphill, from the outset, it's an uphill battle, and we certainly need the Lord to help us. But, even in the midst of 120,000 songs a day, I really believe there'll never be enough Jesus songs. We literally cannot write enough of them. To the end of our days, we should be and will be writing songs that glorify God. And I love that we can all be a part of that. But I want to also focus now a little bit on Spotify, and I'm just going to throw some stats out. I'm just going to throw some information, which is going to help understand why I even have a job. And I'm focusing on Spotify because that's kind of the one that most people use, and it's the one that kind of gets the most attention, and certainly what most of the industry is focusing on. Is this? So I just saw a question saying, "Is this Christian songs release?" Yeah, I'm going to be chatting about Christian music pretty much specifically when we get into the weeds. Okay. So, and that's all ultimately I know I do a little bit with Delta, but mainly most of my business operations is Christian and gospel. Okay. So Spotify alone has paid out almost $40 billion US to rights holders since its inception a couple of years ago. So the notion that there's no music in music anymore is false. There's a lot of money in music. In fact, shortly we'll overtake the height of the CD era in terms of how much, not accounted for inflation, but for how much money is passing through the industry. So it's there, but it needs to be correctly captured is the key here. Now, Spotify nearly pays out almost 70% of the money that comes through to them. Okay, so even again, the idea that, Spotify, these big baddies out there, it's actually not true. Like of every dollar that comes in, they're paying out 70 cents back to songwriters, artists, or rights holders is what we call them. So, they are making a big profit, of course, but a lot of that, 70% of it is coming back to the people that own the music or make the music. I heard it coined recently, but we're seeing the rise of the middle-class musician right now. Okay, so in the CD era, it was basically you're either, if you weren't at the top shelf on HMV or Sanity or Virgin, all those old music stores, if you weren't front and center shelf of which the record labels would pay for those real estate spots, unless you were there, it was pretty hard to sell your CDs. We weren't selling online. You'd have to tour and you'd sell CDs there. But really, it was kind of, you had the top cream shelf of musicians and artists up the top, and then everyone else was kind of poor. Whereas nowadays, because of streaming, we actually are seeing the rise in the middle-class musician, because if someone streams your song and you've got that registered correctly, it might take some time, but eventually the revenue from those streams will find its way back to you. Okay. So I've got some cool stats here. In 2022, obviously 2023 hasn't finished yet, so I'm using last year's data. 232,000 artists were paid $1,000 from Spotify alone that year. Okay. 91,000 artists were paid $5,000 from their, and this is just Spotify. This isn't counting YouTube, Apple Music, all those other places. It's just Spotify. 57,000 artists were paid $10,000 that year from Spotify. Now, this is unprecedented in the music world. All right. In the CD era, this kind of thing could never have happened. And then finally, 18,000 artists were paid $50,000. I saw that question. That's actually how many plays you need. It's coming right up. So there is money in it. And if you think about that, I know $1,000 is okay. What's that? Probably 1,500 Australian dollars, but 232,000 artists got at least that last year. And that's just from Spotify. So you can probably triple that total figure when you account for YouTube, Apple, and some of the other streamers. Okay. Okay. So Josh's question in the chat here is how many plays do you need to make $1,000? Well, okay. I don't have that exact number. Okay. If I just do my math of deduction here, you'd need 200. I've got the US figures here. Let me say this: to 1,000 streams on Spotify, you'll make $4. Okay. 1 million streams, you'll make $4,000. So, you do need a fair few streams, but of course it can happen. Also, Spotify's the worst of the bunch. Reason being is, and reason it's hard to find exact, what a stream is worth is because it actually depends who's streaming it and where. for example, a stream in North America from someone who's paying a Spotify membership is worth more than someone who's in India and on the freemium version of Spotify. It's the stream actually isn't worth the same amount. All right. So even myself, if I'm on a family account for Spotify, which I'm on with my wife and my in-laws, we share it. A stream that I stream is worth less than a stream of someone who's paying for a full, in Australia, is paying for a full Spotify membership themselves. So there's an infinite amount of stream rates. So it depends where you are, who you are, how long you listen to it. So that's why it is difficult to find an exact dollar, like cent amount per stream. But on average, they say it's around 0.004 US cents per stream as an average. All right. So 1,000 streams will make you $4 US. And it's totally an average. Apple Music, because there is no free option, it's paid only. Their stream payout is roughly double that. So, Spotify is often considered the worst, but some of these other streamers do pay quite well. Like Tidal, the stream rate's higher than Apple Music again. So it kind of goes like that. Okay, let's keep going. So a lot of people go, "Hey, Cam, do you need a label, publisher, manager?" All these things are they still necessary in the age of being able to self-release and all that sort of thing? The question is yes and no. So nowadays, because of, and if any of you guys, and I know some of you have, even Tula, and you guys have released some music independently, it actually can be done. You don't need a record label to put out a song anymore. But they all still have a role in the industry. So as some of you guys that may be making some music yourselves, already commercially putting it out, or maybe planning to, you might see that the costs start to add up quite quickly. You're paying a producer, you're paying maybe some musicians to play on your music. Then you got to pay someone to engineer it and mix it rather. And then you got to pay someone to do some mastering at the end. And that's even before you put it out to do any sort of marketing or graphic design or any of these sort of things. So it's easy to save some pennies or it can be easy rather to save some pennies and do the first song, maybe the second. But after a while you go, oh, this isn't a cheap affair. Okay. So that's where the record labels still very much have a place, because the record labels effectively, really all they are is a bank. Okay. So the record label is, okay, young chap or whoever, we're going to give you $25,000 to make an album, but we're going to own it. We're going to own it. And but in exchange, you're going to give us this music, you're going to give us this album. So for a lot of artists, they do need the label still because they don't have the money to make the album, and there's an exchange that goes on. So I mean, more of that, you can go reading more about that in your own time, but they definitely still have a place, the labels. But fortunately, we do live in a world where hypothetically people can release without labels. The publisher still has very much a place. The music publisher is they collect mainly on all of your royalties. So as a songwriter, if you put out a song and by God's grace, that song might get spun in, say, Romania on the radio over there, Christian radio station in Romania. As a little, indie artist, you can't collect on that. Very, very difficult to trace those sort of royalties. But a publisher will make sure your song is registered all around the world. Okay. And then so even if it gets that one airplay play on Romanian Christian radio, it will take time, but it'll find its way to you. So they still have very much a practical function. And, we can talk more about that another time. And again, at the end of this session, I'll give you my contact details for any questions. But there are services online, and it can be a bit of a minefield, but there are services online that if you know what they are and you sign up for the right things, you can sign up for some of these services and they can help you. They do take a cut of some of the revenue, but you do end up as a net positive because, okay, you're giving a little bit away, but I never would have gotten that royalty from Romania, as it were. So anyway, that's your publisher. Then a manager. The manager would be another big function. Of course, it's what I do. I have people reach out to manage them, which is always a really great feeling when people want to work together. There's a few kinds of managers. There's a professional manager. You might have heard of Scooter Braun. He's probably one of the famous managers in the world. He manages Justin Bieber and Ariana Grande and some of the others. And he, that'd be very difficult to convince Scooter Braun to manage you or someone like that. Or one of my heroes, Greg Ham. He's a legend in the music industry in Australia. Sorry, in Christian music industry in America. He manages Michael W. Smith, CC1 and some of these great legacy Christian worship acts. And, it would be very difficult to convince Greg to manage you. So you have these professional, big time music managers. But then you have what I would like to call a best friend manager. And so when you get a lot of artists starting out, which might be many of you, the best kind of manager in many cases to find is a best friend manager. And that's someone that wants to get into the industry. And that's what I was when I started. I was a best friend manager. I didn't know much about the industry. I wanted to get in, and an artist needed a manager, and I needed an artist. And so together we came and said, hey, why don't we give this a crack together, right? Your wins are my wins. Let's do this thing. And so you get a best friend manager who blood, sweat, and tears is working and picking up the phone and making contacts and trying to help promote the artist's music, because he's or she is now growing in their skill as a manager, and the artist is benefiting, and together they rise. So that's in many cases what most young or emerging artists rather will look for is that best friend manager, someone that wants to get into the industry and give it a go themselves. Maybe has a knack for some sales, or maybe has one or two contacts. But that's really advantageous to get. Okay, moving on. So next point I'd like to talk about is sustainably releasing. So following on from the expense of releasing music, there's actually a number of tricks in ways you can, I call it sustainably releasing. So you might know someone, or you might know someone who knows someone who's a young producer, maybe not big top shelf tier. And I know a number of them, and I'm happy to send those names around as well. But someone who's, emerging, really maybe a young guy or girl who's practicing, or maybe at uni and learning how to produce some music, and actually wants some practical experience. Hey, I'm looking for an artist to work with that I can, might be a uni student that needs to do it for a project, or maybe some young person on the creative team at church that is just a wizard on the computer. A lot of times they're actually just looking for songs that they can practice on. So that can be always a really great place to start. Hey, there's a young guy or girl that's producing at church. I've got this song. Why don't we collaborate together? I might not be able to pay you to produce this song, but what I can do is I will credit you as a songwriter on my song. Okay. Not actually controversial whatsoever. I think it's a great way to sustainably release, because if you cut a young producer or a young songwriter in on the song, hey, your song it may or may not even go on to make any money at all. But the fact you've cut them in, you often find that these young producers want to actually pour in the hours. They want, hey, well, I've got now a portion on this song. Okay. So, using some terminology, the actual recording itself is called a master. And so normally the artist or whoever is paying for the recording owns the master. And so, if this is a young producer, you might say, hey, listen, why don't you produce my song for me? And we can own the master 50-50. Okay. I realize we might have to go back to this video to take some notes, or, in a later conversation, we could talk about that. But what I am saying is, and if this is pricking your ears in any way, there are ways to do this, sustainably releasing, cutting people in on your songs, on your recordings. These systems are out there, and you guys can definitely look this stuff up and see how people have structured that. I'm a big believer in it. And the more people that have ownership on a song, I often find the better it goes anyway. Because instead of it's just one person trying to promote that thing, you might have 3, 4, or 5 people involved in this one song, and they're all sharing about it. They're all passionate about it. They want to see it succeed. So that's something I've helped a lot of people through, is how to structure that stuff. Guys, let's cut people in, and you might actually now be able to make an album where maybe before you couldn't. So that's a cool one. Okay. All right. Big one. Moving into literally releasing music. And I'm kind of trying to go through this a little systemically. So I know Tula and her husband have just released a song. So there are actual tools out there now that you can, a Google search is, you'll find it. But you can put your music, you could record a song, however, doesn't matter the quality, but you can put your song on Spotify and Apple Music and YouTube, and these aggregators will do it for you. And a lot of them don't cost anything at all. So if you are taking notes or need notes on this, there's a couple of good ones. You've got DistroKid, there's TuneCore, there's CD Baby. But because we're all Christians here, the guys that I've been using a lot recently, a Christian group, they're called Wings Music Group. And Wings Music Group are a Christian-only music distributor. They're based out of Nashville and London. And one of the guys in Nashville is actually an Aussie. And I had lunch with him, and he's a nice bloke. And both of those guys that founded Wings, used to work at Integrity Music. I'm wearing an Integrity Music shirt now. So they're good guys, and I'm big on supporting Christians in business. I'm big on supporting Christians, full stop. If there's a Christian cafe, I'm going to it. Okay. And so Wings Music Group, Christian owned, I believe probably just servicing Christian music as far as I'm aware. Maybe they're not just doing Christian music, but certainly it's the bulk of what they're doing. And I couldn't recommend those guys higher. So if you are looking at putting out some music, I would go through Wings. Anyone can upload their music through that platform, and it will end up on Spotify, Apple Music, Tidal, Amazon, Pan, all of the streamers. If you go through Wings, the interface is reasonably easy. Sometimes you might need to get someone that kind of knows their way around it, but that's the same with any distributor. Okay. Now, lastly, before we talk about actual promotions, there's a great question that I sat on a music panel once. I was just in the audience, and the whole panel was around this one question, and it was, should artists be content creators as well? Okay. And it was an hour-long panel, and everyone had their opinion, and everyone was saying this, no, they shouldn't have to, they're busy creating great art, or, yes, they should, because, and really the great takeaway for me was one of the girls that sat on that panel. She said this, she goes, well, we can argue it all day and night, but if you don't make content, there's another artist that is. And that artist that is, unfortunately, the way people discover and find music now, like YouTube's 30% of the internet's traffic. The way people are discovering music, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, well, you have artists creating content. So if we aren't in a place to create content, and that content's so broad, but I hope you're following me, someone else is. So it is brutal, but it's just the reality. Like, for example, if you were a busking musician, and you wanted to make the most impact, or have the most people hear your song, you probably wouldn't stand on the back street. You'd stand on the main street, right, where everyone was walking past. And that main street now is TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and many of the other social media platforms, because that's where listeners are spending their time and discovering new music. So it's the bane of pretty much every single artist I know that have to be content creators. So you're not alone, but it is a reality. And there are ways to, again, there are youngsters that are just so savvy with making videos and imagery and all the rest that absolutely love it. And I'm big on partnering with some of those youngsters. And hey, man, help me. You're on these platforms. Like, give me some help. But it is certainly a necessary part of the release strategy now, which of course we're about to dive into. So to answer the question, should artists be expected to be content creators? Yes or no? Well, you can do whatever you want, but we want the Jesus music to be the biggest in the world, and that's going to take some. Now with 120,000 songs that come out a day with infinite amounts of posts, hey, we have to be in that space too. Okay, so this is kind of like the fun section now, I would say. And hopefully there was something in all that for you guys. Hopefully it was a little bit inspirational, maybe a little bit scary, but that's okay, because there's answers to all this stuff. And so promotions and release strategy. So in my time working at the label with Hillsong, I got to work with a lot of different songs, a lot of different songwriters across a lot of different projects. And hand on heart, I've only been in the music business for a couple of years. But from what I do know, it always has, and it always will be about the song. Okay. You can have the greatest marketing campaign of your life. You could spend all the ad dollars. You could bring together the cleverest minds. But if it's not a great song, people won't return to listen. And look, many years ago, I know I've got a reasonably young-looking face, but many years ago I was in university and I did a marketing course, and they say the backbone of any business is repeat customers, and it's no different in music. We want people to come back and re-stream the song. Okay, so if we don't have a great song, if we don't have great marketing, we might initially bring them to the page. But if they don't have a great song, they're not going to press play again. And we want them to press play multiple times. We want them to add it to their playlist. We want them to share it with their friends. So, I think, talking about promotions and release strategy, that's the best one. Have a great song. Now, how do we know we've got great songs? Well, you should share it with your friends. Share it with your people, And you know what? Especially in context of worship music, when I'm working with a new worship group or we're cutting a new album, first thing I ask, have you been singing the songs on Sundays? Because if you're cutting a worship album, especially this is to worship groups directly, if you're cutting a worship album and you haven't even sung the song on Sunday, how do you know if the audience is going to connect with it, right? It's the best. That is the best A&R tool we have as worship writers or Christian writers is, hey, let's sing this song. Or it could be on a prayer group, or it could be at a connect group, or it could be wherever it might be. Hey, let's actually sing this song. Let's see if it works, because as artists, we're like, oh man, this is my song. It's special, every part of it. Yeah, but actually some of the great songs went under so many revisions until that song finally got cut and made it to a record. So I would encourage you guys, if you're writing Christian music, and especially worship music, try it out on Sundays. Try it out at home group. But certainly show your friends and family, guys, what do you think about this song? And be open to feedback, because anyone you're showing it to is probably your friend, and they care about you. So I always say, hey, be prepared to wear your art on your sleeve. All right? Be like, let it come free. It was freely given, so we freely give it away. So that is that's probably the number one point of promotion is make sure you have a good song and share that around to people to make sure, hey, I think a few people have said this is pretty good. Okay, cool. That's what happens in the industry. There's professionals that listen to songs every day, but at the end of the day, they go, yeah, I think it's the opinions of a few that make the decisions. So I look at it this way in terms of promotion is they say the cream will rise to the top, right? That's science, is what happens, okay? And the cream is the song. Yeah, a good song is going to rise to the top. But if that cream is in the cupboard, no one's going to see it. So that's, it will rise to the top, but it's going to go unlistened to. It's going to go unstreamed. So that's where a good song and good promotion comes together to make something great. So I want to start with promotions as what not to do. So for anyone taking notes here, we can do the what not to do section.
This is awesome, man.
Hey, thank you, Josh. Appreciate it, brother. Okay. So here's just a couple of quick things on what not to do. So for those that are releasing music or have released music, some of you guys might have already encountered this already. Definitely do not pay to get your music playlisted. Don't do it. Most of the time they end up on these kind of really dodgy playlists, and on those dodgy playlists, no one's really listening to them, and they get streamed by bots in random countries. And in the end, many times they can actually just take the music down. So you've wasted money on putting it's just a waste. It's a complete waste. All right. So do not pay for fake streams or for any kind of playlisting. And literally, I hope that I'm saving some of you guys from sex. I'm not saying because I don't want you to have heaps of streams and look good. I do. I want you guys to have heaps of streams, but don't pay for it, because it eventually, in many cases, even if your song doesn't get taken down, it can get shadow banned. And what that means is Spotify will just put an X on your account going, we won't favor that account. We won't put that music anywhere it belongs. We won't listen to it. So it's just an absolute waste. If you've done it before, there are ways to repair your account. Again, you'd want to go and look that up. But by and large, just straight away I'm not talking, it's not even an ethical thing. I'm just literally, it's not going to help you, and it's a waste of money. And yeah, my next point was fake streams. Don't do that. In fact, they actually may even start finding some people when they're detecting fake streams. You just want to avoid all that altogether. So don't do it. I'm going to talk about advertising spend right down the end, because all of the stuff I'm about to talk to is theoretically free. Okay. It's not like, hey guys, we need to drop 10K on this. I'm hoping I can give you heaps of free stuff. I will speak about advertising spend right at the bottom, but here in mind, what not to do. I do have an ad spend thing, which is the Facebook boost button. Do not pay for it. Do not press it. It's a waste of money. Okay. So it literally is a waste of money. So I can explain why, but it's not worth it. There's way better ways if you're going to spend some money on advertising than pressing the Facebook boost button. It's just like path of least resistance. You put in your credit card and you press it and done, and it feels magical, and you get a few extra likes. But there's just so many better ways even if you've got $100 literally to spend on promotion, than using the Facebook boost button. So just cross that one off the list. Even Instagram advertising. You might see a lot of people run ads on Instagram. That's okay. I don't think it's that good for music. It's one of the places people will advertise music, but there are better places. And especially as independent artists, every dollar counts. And so there's better places to spend it, which I'm going to come down to right at the end, because I want to get through all the free stuff you can do first. But yeah, Instagram spend, don't do it. There's better places to spend it. And then the last, probably don't do the big don't. I see a lot of guys and girls rather, when they're releasing music, they do. And if you guys are on social media, you might see your friends put out music. They do a massive, or they do a lot of pre-release promotion, meaning your song hasn't come out yet, and they're telling everyone about it before it's out, which is cool. That's nothing wrong with doing that. But the reason I put it in the do not do list is because people often spend so long promoting it before it's out and then don't promote it once it's out. Right? So flip those two things, like do 180 degree. In fact, if I had my way, I'd say don't tell anyone until the day it's out, and then just don't stop annoying them about it. Tell them, because, if you made some candles, or you made a t-shirt brand or something like that, and you told everyone, oh guys, I've got this coming out. Great, cool. Well, let me know when it's out, because I'll buy it. You're my friend. And then once it comes out, you don't let us know. I mean, you wouldn't do that. You got a candle brand, you're going to, or t-shirts or whatever it is, you're going to tell people when it's out, when they can purchase it. So the same goes for music. So I would say, especially with the systemic trouble I see that artists have with creating content, just save it all until it's out. And then once your song's out, you can tell everyone about it. If you're a content creator and I've got 6 months worth of content back, cool. Yeah, tell them that it's coming out. But I would say prioritize it once it is out. Okay, so moving into the stuff that I want you to do when you're putting out music. Okay, the number one bang for buck thing you can, well, actually not buck because it's free, but the number one call to action you can do, okay, when promoting your music, I'm talking second to no other function in the music industry right now, is the Spotify follow button. That is the number one return on investment. Okay, so if I'm getting anyone to do anything for me aside from streaming, okay, I'm not encouraging pre-ads, pre-saves. You might have seen a lot of them. Again, all of them are fine. But if I'm talking path of least resistance, trying to get people to engage, if people press follow on your Spotify page when you have one, that is the ultimate return on investment there is, because it actually sends a big signal up to Spotify that you have fans. Because without people following your account on Spotify, Spotify doesn't know if you have any fans. This is one of the key indicators. From that follow button, there's a big flow-on effect. Now, I don't know if many of you are Spotify users or Apple or YouTube, whatever, but again, a lot of people are consuming music on Spotify. So I have made that a big focus of my talk today. But thanks, Jace. Appreciate the buy-in there, brother. So when people follow you on Spotify, every week there's a playlist that Spotify creates, and it's just for you, and it's called Release Radar, and it's an official Spotify playlist. And every account that you follow, or just about every account that you follow on Spotify, if those bands or artists or worship groups or whoever it might be has a new song come out and you're following them, it will populate in your personalized little playlist called Release Radar. Okay, and it is an official Spotify playlist that everyone always goes on about trying to get on. So the more people that follow your artist account or your worship group's account, the more playlists that your song will automatically, literally without you doing anything, it will arrive on. And people really do listen to those release radar players. In fact, I check it every week because it's the best way for me to stay across what music's come out that week. Cool, Release Radar Friday, boom. I check New Music Friday, Christian, which is a big Spotify editorial, but I check my Release Radar because I'm following all sorts of artists. I want to see who has a new song, and I listen to them all, or at least most of them. So bang for buck, can't drive this home enough. If there's one thing you're asking your fans or your friends or whoever it is to do, please follow me on Spotify. I actually could probably stop now. Like, that's the best, literally, boom, drop. There you go. That's it. All right. So that's the follow button. Okay. Another really practical thing you guys can do. I know I get passionate. I'm Sicilian. It is what it is. And I'm a pastor's kid. I can't help it. Okay. So Another great thing you guys can do is download the 4 artist apps. So most of the big streamers will have this. There's Spotify 4 artists, there's Apple Music 4 artists, there's Tidal 4 artists, there's Amazon Music 4 artists. And what that is that's the back-end access to your personal music page on all those streamers. So they're the major ones, Spotify, Apple, Amazon, Tidal. Pandora has one. We can't have it here in Australia because that app isn't here, but it's a big app in America. But even if you download just the three, Spotify, Apple Music, and Amazon, that is your back-end access. So you can then upload your images there. You can change it. You can update your bio. You craft your page. That's how you're able to edit effectively what is on your music page. Now, you don't distribute music through there. We spoke about that very briefly earlier through Wings, that Christian Wings distributor. But this is just to make your page look pretty. Pictures, bios, all those things. And you can get a lot of great information on who's streaming your music. So if it ends up on different playlists, how many streams it's having, where the streams are coming from, what cities, what demographics. It's incredible. So I would encourage you, if you're putting out music or you already have, download those apps, claim your page, and some really insightful data. Okay, next best thing, speaking on those apps, within those apps, now at the moment it's only Spotify and Amazon, but there is what's called a pitch tool. Now the pitch tool is, you're only allowed to use it before your song, especially on Spotify, before your song is released. Okay, so the pitch tool is a 500 character little box where you can tell an editor, which is like someone that's literally picking the playlist for Spotify, a real human, how great your song is and why your song belongs on a playlist. Okay, and you best believe that I go ham over ham on those playlists. This is the greatest song of all time. You've never heard anything better. All right, so there is this pitch tool that you can use, and it will go to the creators of these playlists, and they'll listen to your song. So many cases when releasing music, if you've done a search, they often encourage you to release music to ingest your music, distribute your music through Wings or any of those other groups about 4 weeks before you've got a song coming out. Why? Well, it takes time for it to hit all the different streaming platforms around the world. It could take a couple of days, it could take a week or more. But more than that, it's so you've got time to pitch your song. So if you distribute a song on Monday and you want it out on Friday, there's no time to pitch it. There's no time for the editors to actually spend some time to read your pitch and have a listen to the song. It's gone. You've missed that opportunity. So take at least about 4 weeks, 4 or 5, even 6 weeks to distribute your music before it's released. And then you can use those pitch tools. And in many cases, most songs that come out, I've read the stats, most songs come out and they don't use that pitch tool. And I'm seeing more and more now, Spotify will not playlist a song that doesn't use the pitch tool. If you don't use it, we're not putting it on a playlist.
I got a quick question for you, Cam.
Hit me.
Can that pitch tool be targeted? Say, for example, you write something that is more tailored towards, that would be, I'll say, on a kid's playlist, or that would be more on a certain type of playlist more than others. Can that pitch tool help target certain playlists, or is it just general that everybody will get?
Great question, bro. It's absolutely targeted. So before you write in your pitch, it actually asks what genre your music is. It asks if it's for kids, it asks all that. It asks, what, so like you could pick Christian and gospel and worship, and I press that. So that's going to go now to my friends at Spotify who work in the Christian and gospel curators. So literally the pitch will go to them. So it's not going to go to someone who's curating a metal playlist. It's not going to go to them, right? Remember, Spotify is a massive company with heaps of employees. So it's not just like one person sitting there. There's whole teams of people that are curating and listening and playlisting and putting this stuff together, okay? So yeah, it will go to the right person, dude. Okay, so the next one is, how often should you release? Well, a lot of these, especially when starting out now, if you're Coldplay or if you're Bethel, you can kind of do whatever Coldplay and Bethel are the same, but they're giants of their industries, and they can kind of do whatever they want to do, all right, because they've got such a big audience that whenever they release, people are going to come along. But again, I feel like I'm talking to indie artists here, up and coming emerging artists here, people that want to get involved. So that's kind of who I'm targeting these questions to. So how often should you release? Well, truly the answer is the more the merrier. Okay. Now, a lot of these like Spotify and Apple Music, they're kind of in many cases a little bit like Instagram and YouTube and some of these platforms. They will favor the accounts that give them more content. It sucks a little bit, but it's good to know, because with knowledge, we have a bit more power. So okay, great. If I'm going to put out one song and then 3 years later, I'm putting out my second song, that's not really, hey, that's totally cool. If it's for the love of it, it's for ministry, awesome. But again, I told you I'm putting on my business hat here. It's not really going to cut it in terms of making some waves and getting some momentum. Okay, so the more you can release, the better. I've seen all sorts of strategies. People might make an EP, which is a short collection of maybe 4 or 5 or 6 songs, or an album, and go, should I release a song every week, or should it be once every 3 weeks, or hey, there's a myriad of answers to that. Personally, I like songs. If you've got a collection of songs, I like it every 6 weeks. So you spend time, you make your EP, you make your collection of 4 or 5 or 6 songs. You've got them sitting there. Okay, cool. Let's spread it out now, maybe every 6 weeks, because that gives every song its moment. All right. And so even if you do it one by one like that, that means every song you can use that pitch tool as well with Spotify and Amazon. If you just drop a whole album at once, you can use the pitch tool only once, right? But if you release individual singles and many of them, and you spread it out a little bit, means you can have, there's shots. It's a shot every single time. So how often you should release? Look, I definitely think once a week's a lot. It's way too quick, and often a lot of energy and finance and resources go into making these records. But I think if I've got a couple of songs prepared, spread it out over 6 weeks, even 7 weeks. I often find that comes around pretty quick. You've just finished promoting the first song, and all of a sudden your next one's out. You got to start promoting that. Okay, now speaking of promotion, are we going to get to that? Yeah, let's go to that now. So social media. Look, I guess we're all Aussies here because we're in Australia and we're on the Australian Worship Network. Aussies do not like self-promotion. We're not like Americans like that way. Americans have no problem telling you how great their next whatever is. And that's cool. This is what they do. But Aussies, we don't do that so much. So when it comes to social media, harder again. We just do find it difficult to self-promote. I understand. But remember, well, if you don't, someone else is. And as brutal as that is, I mean, I didn't make the rules. I'm just telling you what they are. So, but here's the thing. People follow you on social media because A, they like you. B, they maybe like what you're creating. And C, they want updates. They're following you because they literally want updates about what you're doing. So do not feel embarrassed or feel like, it's self-promotion. No. If we're writing Jesus music, which I think most of us here are, hey, like I thought that came from God. Like God's giving you that song. Get it out there. Tell the world about it. Literally, like do not. Now, look, we can hypothesize over the right ways, but you just hear my spirit in that. Like, let people know what's out. And the reality is as well, I often see my friends who will put out a song and I'm like, oh, that's so good. But I'm sitting on a train or something and it's not the right time. I can't listen to it. Or I might be waiting in line for a coffee and I see my friends posted, they've just got a new song out. Oh, great. I'm going to get around to listening to that. But I'm waiting in line for a coffee. It's not the right moment. It might not be to the 5th, 6th, or 7th time that they're sharing about that it's finally called me in the right moment that I go, oh, yes, good reminder. I can listen to that now. So if that's happening to me, I wager it's happening to all you too. So that's why we have to keep the promotion consistent. We have to keep sharing about our song and getting creative about the ways we can share about it. So it's not always just my face. Hey guys, here's my song. Sure, that's good, but mix it up. Might be an acoustic version of the song. Maybe just you sitting down at the piano. Here's a piano version, just a 30-second version of the chorus. Great. And you know what? The truth is, I work with, official content and unofficial content. And we, in our release strategies, we weave the two together. In many cases, the unofficial iPhone dodgy footage gets more engagement than the official stuff. Go figure. So the cheap video iPhone just sitting, me and my guitar playing along, or not me, but the artist. Those videos just do well. I don't know why, but the algorithm loves it. And you mix that in with some official content. Oh, okay, they are a real artist. Great. Here's a little official video or a little official graphic. But then the next thing is just, hey, I'm singing it in the car. I'm singing, I'm jamming on the radio. So finding different ways to share about it, but keep it up. Like yes, it is self-promotion, but I have no idea why that's a negative thing, because we are sharing the good news, which is Christian music and Jesus' message, but B, it's just a reality. Like we need to let people know the music is out. Okay, another one, a great one. This is like super nerdy and may go over some heads, but there's a great release strategy called the waterfall release. What you can do if you've got a collection of songs ready to go, you got your first single that comes out. Great, we're letting everyone know it's out. They're streaming it. When the next single comes out, we actually want to pair that original single with the new single in a new container. It's called a waterfall release. Now, just write that down for a future reference for you. But what it often means is when someone comes to stream your brand new second song, they're going to stream that, and then all of a sudden, it's automatically going to stream your original song because it's right there. It's right next to it. It's going to flow straight into it. When you put your third song out, you want to do that again. You want to put the brand new one up the top, and then the two you've already released right underneath. So they've come to stream the first song, and it's going to go straight into the next two. And you can keep that going. It's called a waterfall release. And the streaming does this. It often just shoots right up because you're capturing them for more than just the one stream you bought them to your page for. You're capturing them for 2 and 3 and 4, maybe 5 streams. And now maybe they've heard that song now for the second or third time. Oh, I really like that. I'm going to save that. I'm going to add it to my playlist. And that's how we really start to build some momentum. So the waterfall release is really, really powerful. Awesome. Okay. Getting on playlists. This is I've used that word now a few times. We absolutely want to get on playlists. Like when people say it doesn't matter, it totally matters. Okay. But we can't rely on it. Okay. So there's 3 kinds of playlists. You've got, in case you're wondering, that is not nail polish. I smashed my finger in a door and my wife gave me very little to no sympathy. Okay. So there are 3 kinds of playlists. So you have the editorial playlist. Now that's the big kahuna Spotify playlist where everyone wants to get on. And in time you may get there. If you write a really great pitch and you do all those things, you can end up there. So that's the editorial playlists. Then we have what's called algorithmic playlists. Now that is actually, hey, you've distributed your music well. Your Spotify page looks great. People are coming and pressing follow on your page. Now it's ending up in Release Radar and it's doing these things and the algorithm starts working for you. You might notice if you go to Spotify to listen to an album or listen to a song and you press that, when the song finishes, what plays next? It's a random song. It might go to another artist. It might go somewhere else. That's an algorithmic play. And that is some of the most powerful plays in all of the music industry. It's really good for discovery. So that's why setting up our page roll is very important. So, when I work with artists, they don't make an editorial playlist. It's okay. But we're going to make sure we make sure our page is set up well. We're doing all the right things so that algorithm can start working for us. That's why pressing the follow button is so powerful. That's why doing some of these things like releasing regularly and waterfall and so on and some of the things I've been talking about is powerful because the algorithm will literally start working for you. And in most cases, most artists that you see streaming, most of their streams come from algorithmic plays. And I know that for a fact, right? So it's not just, I'm number one on this editorial. It's actually, no, it's just Spotify doing the work for you, just casual listeners streaming. And then the last one is the user playlist. And that's the playlist that I make. I've got my own devotional playlist, or I've got a Sunday set list playlist. And when I'm dragging songs into those playlists and pressing play, so there'll be the kind of playlists your songs will end up in first. And that's a great thing to encourage people. Hey, I've got this amazing new Jesus song. It's an amazing new worship song. I pray it encourages you. Add it to your worship playlist. Add it to your devotional playlist. Stream it. And people will just do that naturally. And as more and more users add it to their user playlists, the algorithm will start working. And the more the algorithm is starting to work, that's when we get on those big editorials. Okay. I'm just going through some of these and I'm realizing the notes, the time rather. Okay, cool. A few more quick things. Guys, text your friends. When you get a song come out, literally copy the link and send it to your friends. And that is so easy because it's click stream. And of course, your friends are going to stream it. And again, remembering that when you share it on social media, sometimes people miss it. Maybe they weren't on social media that day. Maybe you caught them at the wrong moment. When you text friends, most people get around to the text. It's really, really powerful. I can't measure that conversion, but my experience texting friends has been great. You get a response, oh man, I really love that track, right? So text your friends. Literally, I text them all. Email list as well. Now, most of us are just people. We don't have an email list, but an email list is so powerful. So when I'm working with worship groups, one of the first things I have them do is set up a little website with a landing page and just an email capture. Sign up to our newsletter, and that way when the release comes out, we can email everyone. And the email open rates are, I should have it in front of me, but they're so high. People open emails, especially when it's from someone they know or a brand they like. So email marketing is huge. And more than that, we're talking about career building. If you build up a great email database, social media platforms come and go. At the moment, it's Instagram, TikTok, and you might build a big audience there. But if in a few years there's a new platform and Instagram fades away or something like that, you've got your email database. You've got direct contact with all of your, fans or followers or whatever you want to call them. So it's a powerful thing to build. And worship groups do a good job of that because it's part of a church and so on.
Awesome.
Okay. Look, play live. I've just got to point in literally, I'm big on the new methods, but I'm big on the old methods too. And so sometimes people just want to focus on all the new methods, right? It's great. We need that. But if we leave off the old methods, well, they're there for the taking. And a lot of people do leave them on the table. So I'm like, guys, play live. Play your song live. Put on a worship night at your church. Put it on. Take a step. Ryan, I heard it said recently, and it's just really stuck with me. Reinhard Bonnke famously said, faith is spelled R-I-S-K, right? And I don't want to be in faith because it's risky and it's scary, but I do want to be in faith because I know that that's part of my position as a Christian. So play live, put on a night, ask your pastor, hey, pastor, can I want to organize a prayer night. I want to play some original, do something, play your songs at church or whatever it looks like. If you're an artist and not a strict worship musician, put on a gig, do it, take the leap. And the greatest thing is a lot of people aren't doing that. So you're not going to get faced up. People are going to hear your amazing song. You're not fighting with the noise. You might have, 50 or 100 or however many people there that are getting to hear your song in the flesh. There is nothing better than that. So the old methods and the new methods. Okay, I'm literally almost done. So I've got 2 more now. And so, guys, I hope I'm going into the paid stuff now. So that was, guys, I hope there was something in there, something at least to encouraging you. There's heaps of free stuff you can do. All right. Now, the last 2 things are where you can spend a little bit of money as an indie artist. Okay. Ad spend and radio play. All right. Now, on YouTube, so I said don't press the Facebook boost button. Probably don't advertise on Instagram, those sorts of things. In fact, a lot of the places you can spend money to advertise in the music business aren't available until you have a certain stream count. So I'm going to talk about the things that are available to a brand new artist, right? Absolute best place you can spend your money right now is on YouTube. Okay. You can spend as little as you want to spend. Literally, I haven't tested this, but you could probably spend $10. Okay. To give you an idea, I've just done a campaign recently. And there was 250 Australian dollars spent on YouTube, and the video got 100,000 streams.
Wow.
You can, it's unbelievable. Now we can talk long and hard on the quality of those streams, right? How long they stream for, et cetera, et cetera. But the fact is that video right now, if I was to link you to it, it has 105,000 streams on it right now, and $250 was spent on advertising it. My opinion, that's pretty good bang for buck. Okay. Where else are you going to get that? Not, you could spend, there's some great Christian publications out there. One of my favorites is called New Release Today. They're just a Christian music outlet, been around for a long time. It's an EDM, so it goes straight to your email. Kind of talks about everything that's out that week, interviews. It's really good. It's been around a long time. Spent a little bit of money advertising there. It might be like $100 for a write-up. Pretty good, but it's a write-up. Look, if I was going to say, hey, spend $100 on a write-up or $100 to maybe get 20, 30, 40,000 streams, you decide, right? Now, if you've got a bit more of a bigger budget, absolutely. I'm going to want to hit YouTube. I'm going to want to hit Instagram. I'm going to want to hit some of those editorials. But if I had to just pick one, YouTube, and the follow button on Facebook, boom. All right. So that's where we're spending money. And the final one is getting your song on radio, which is an important part of the promotional piece for any music. But I'm putting this right here at the end in the paid section. So you can try and find your local contact details for a local, depending. I'm sure you guys are all across the country. So if you're in Brisbane, it's 96.5. If you're in Melbourne, it's Light FM. If you're on the Central Coast, it's probably Rema. If you're in Sydney, it's Hope FM. I know them all. So you can just contact your local station, or you can try and go, hey, here's my song, and you should definitely do that. But there are about 35 Christian stations across Australia. There's about 5 million listeners on average a week. So there's a pretty big audience there. And we actually have a Christian radio airplay chart. It's called the TCM chart. You can go and follow that on Facebook. It's just called TCM, which stands for Today's Christian Music. And it charts the top 30 top Christian songs on radio that week. Okay. To chart, you need to pay someone. Okay. Actually, let me rephrase that, not the chart. To get your song in front of all the content directors at all 35 stations across Australia, you need to pay someone. Now, there's no guarantee of charting. I do radio promotion is a very small part of what I do on the side, just because I'm here in Australia and it's a good thing to be able to do. But I've had all but one of my songs chart. In fact, I've got a song that's charting right now. It's been in the chart. Let me tell you right now. It's called, if you find this, you can even keep me accountable. It's called Poetry by Jimmy Gravity. I pitched that song. It peaked at number 9, which is pretty good to get in the top 10. And he's a foreign artist, like he's from the States as well. Australian artists do a lot better at radio here in Australia because they have quotas to hit. That's why you guys have an advantage. Because Australian Christian radio is a community radio station, they actually have a certain amount of Australian music they have to play for that license. Beauty, good for all of you guys. All right. So anyway, he peaked at number 9. I think now, just from memory, he's almost 10 weeks charting. So it's pretty good. But he was a paid client of mine. I sent that to all the content directors around Australia. I packaged it up nice and neatly. The rate varies from label to indie, but it's not overly expensive. And again, happy to talk to anyone about that. And also, I'm very honest. It needs to be a good song. I don't send any songs to radio that I don't think have a shot, because it ultimately comes down to my trust with them and I. So if I'm sending them stuff that isn't right, well, they're going to stop. They're going to stop opening my emails. They're going to stop listening. So I send them songs that do good on radio. I know what they're looking for. And so to maintain that, for me, it's not about accepting every job, but actually, I might say to an artist, this isn't the song, but actually that other one is. Give me that song. And that's often, even with Jimmy. Jimmy sent me a song, this poetry guy that did number 9, and it wasn't the song. And I actually went into his catalog and I found Poetry, the one that's charting. I go, dude, trust me, this is the song. And it's gone to number 9. So just a bit of Holy Spirit integrity there. But nevertheless, there's another guy who's been doing it for probably as long as I've been alive. His name is Wes J. Tula, I think you know Wes. Wes is the original Christian radio in Australia godfather. He's been pitching songs to radio for a very long time. And he's actually behind the chart as well. The TCM chart is his chart. And he's been doing that for 20 plus, maybe 30 years. This is a legend in Australian Christian music. So he's someone you could go to. If you're searching, he's called Woodlands Media. That's where you'll find him, Woodlands Media. So he does that. I do a little bit of that as well, radio promotion. But that would be 2 great places to spend some money on your music. YouTube ad spend, again, it can be really little, and it has a marvelous effect. Like literally $100 could probably get you in the vicinity of 20, 30, 40,000 streams if you code it all correctly. Or sending it to radio, or there are some of those publications, like I mentioned, New Release Today is a great one to go to. And I'm pretty sure that concludes my speech here. I'm going to throw my contact information into the chat. And Josh, over to you, my brother, if we want to just do any questions or whatever.
Mate, that was just, my mind is just going a million miles an hour, just going, what are all of the things I've done right, all the things I've done wrong, what can I do? And I know that there's other people in here as well that are, doing the same thing. So what I want to do is I want to open it up for questions. The Yeah, mate. First of all, thank you so much. That was just there was so much in that, and so much stuff that I had like not even thought about. So I've got a couple of questions here, but what I want to do is I just want to, if you've got a question, please like just do the raise the hand, and we will go through and we will ask those questions as we go. I've got a question that I wanted to ask. So if you've already released a song, and you've had a crack at it, maybe it hasn't gone that well, maybe it was not that great. Have you missed the boat? Could you have another stab at releasing it, or has that ship, kind of sailed?
Short answer, 100%. You can have a shot. I reject the notion that releasing a song is all about release day or street week. That's just nonsense. Let me give you an example. There's a great Christian worship band called We the Kingdom. They're probably one of my favorite worship bands at the moment. And they put out an album in 2021, and they are still promoting that album today, 2 years on. They've probably just now started to tail off. But there was a solid 18-month to 2-year promotional campaign around that album. And man, Lord is my witness, I was blown away. So to come back to it, I reject it. It's about day one. It's not like promotion is this is why I say, hey, spread your releases out a little bit, because people go, oh, 1 week per release. Well, you're giving your song only 1 week like of attention? No way. There's heaps of time. But it is certainly about finding new ways to promote that, new creative ways to get the song in front of people. Even things like, I might very briefly touch on it, but you've released the main version. Great. Maybe you release an acoustic version, and you can do that for nothing. Record it on your iPhone, put it out there, at least put it up on YouTube and TikTok and Instagram, or, so finding other creative ways to share about the song. But certainly, my friend, there's no missing on the boat.
That's awesome. Jace, unmute yourself, buddy, and fire away.
Thanks, Cam. Thanks, Josh. Just a question about the Waterfall release. I thought that was awesome, man. What is the way that you would say? So I've got maybe, let's say, 4 songs on Spotify now. If I release a 5th one, how do I package that with the first 4? Do I make a custom playlist? Is that the sort of thing you're talking about?
Good question, bro. Who did you use to distribute your music?
Route Note.
Route who?
Route Note.
Route Note. Okay, I'm not familiar with them, but there's heaps of distributors. Okay, so do they have a customer service department? Like, can you ever contact them?
Yes.
Okay, only because I've not used them before, but most of any sort of legitimate, sort of reasonably good distributor, you should be able to contact them and ask them specifically how to do that within their platform, because there should be a function. There'd be probably very limited cases where you wouldn't be able to waterfall it for your next one, but generally speaking, dude, you should be able to capture all those previous releases and put it in the new container. And by container, I mean, that little graphic that sits on Spotify, you click it and what songs sit in that little package, that's your container. So short answer is yes, you should be able to do it. I would reach out to your distributor and ask them, hey guys, can you actually show me how to do it? But I'd be pretty blown away if you couldn't.
All right. Thanks, man. So, that's great. Awesome.
I saw there Greg McInnes. Is that my friend Greg from the Sunny Coast? Maybe not. He put a question in the chat. Anyway, do you need a video for the song
to play? It is. Cam.
Hey, Greg. Fire, man. Good to see you. We can catch up later. So you do you need a video? No. So a lot of people just put up a lyric video of their songs. That's great. A lot of people just put up the cover art, just a picture, and have the song playing. In fact, you can even select for YouTube to do the auto generation of your lyrics as well. I always recommend putting subtitles on. YouTube, Instagram, they all like it when you do the subtitles. They love it. I don't know why, but you don't need a video, no.
Yeah.
Just the song, my brother.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I'm looking through some of the questions. There must be more questions, or have you covered everything?
Maybe I just went through it all, Josh.
Too good, man. Too good.
I don't know about that, bro.
So you mentioned getting songs out there into the onto radio, and you said there's a bit of a cost involved. Who do you have to see? Is there like an online service that does this the same as DistroKid? TuneCore, is there like an online service, or do you need to actually go to somebody like yourself? And you said there's a little bit of a cost, but not exorbitant. What are we kind of talking about?
Cool. So Okay, there's a website called Play MP3 or Play MPE. I always forget because I think they turn around, but let's call it Play MPE for now. You can pay to have your songs on there, and it kind of is a website that, not even kind of, it is a website that all radio programmers will be on, and where they can download new music. But as the artist, you have to pay to put it there. And I would say for an indie artist, it'd get lost in the sea. Okay, because and look, hey, I'm just here to give advice. I have never had an indie artist pay to do it, because it's a cost, and there's just an overwhelming amount of music that goes on there. That isn't how music gets played on radio. When they use that website is when a song has come to their attention. They will then go to Play MPE and download it from there. They don't discover music there. Okay. So what I do is I'll say to an artist that's especially want to get on radio, hey, you can pay to do that. I'm not recommending that. We're going to send the song to them. We're going to give them everything they need. Okay. So when I make a pitch, I make a nice little, make a nice little sheet and an image, make it look nice and pretty, do a great pitch. Hey, this song is da-da-da-da. It's written by, I kind of ham it up a little bit, tell them kind of about the song. I put it often a little 30-second preview so they can press play and hit the chorus straight away. And then include a download link so they can actually get the main WAV or master file, and they can add it. So to get in front of all the radio programmers in Australia, there are 3 guys that do it. Wes, who I mentioned, Woodland Media, another guy named Bill Biddle, who's a legend, and myself. I don't want to speak for Wes's rates because that's not for me to do. I'll say he's a bit more expensive than me. But just to give you an idea, I'm around about $1,000 to send a song to radio. That includes kind of everything. That even includes often setting up some interviews, often sending some liner videos. So, sometimes you're listening to a radio station like, hey, it's Chris Tomlin and you're listening to Light FM. That's a line of video. So often we'll get those requests from radio. Hey, can you organize this? Cool. So I help make a lot of that happen. And the good thing is, if your song tracks well, like if it charts, not only are you getting great exposure, which often, then there's the discovery, people go find you on socials, they'll go listen to it on Spotify, but the airplay itself generates revenue. It generates a publishing revenue. And in some cases, a master audio revenue as well. But anyways, it generates revenue. And if it charts well, you'll well and truly make that fee back for spending the money to promote. Now, not always, but again, if you are charting, if you end up on that chart, you more than likely will make the royalties back. So that's cool, but something to consider.
That's great. So you're talking royalties. Obviously, there needs to be some sort of registration of the song to get the royalties. In the last session, one of the last sessions that we had with Bhavani Marks from CCLI, that was primarily geared towards people singing songs in church. Mm-hmm. But there was mention of another service, I believe it was called, is it One Music, where a song, I guess, how do we register a song so that when it is uploaded that we actually do get the royalties, or when it's played on a radio station, how does that all work?
Great. Well, again, there's a simple answer, but just before that, that's why there is an industry. That's why there's publishers, because, to collect your royalties all around the world is a complicated process. Okay. Part of why I have a job, because, it's a difficult landscape to navigate. It just is. I didn't invent it. I think, lawyers often, and my brother's a lawyer, so I can say this for free, but, I think lawyers sometimes make things complicated. So there's work for them, so that people don't understand it, right? So a lot of the language that's used around royalties and administration and terminology, it acts totally complicated. And I'm still sometimes like, wait, what? Right? But anyways, I make sure I'm up to speed with a lot of the things. So it is complicated, but there are some ways that the indie artist can just do it, do some of it themselves. So APRA, you guys might have heard of APRA in Australia. APRA is a performance rights organization, and it will collect on a lot, not all, but a lot of your songwriter royalties. Okay. So you want to register your song with APRA. It's free to do so. So anytime your song gets played on radio or even Spotify or there's so many streams of royalties, but the one that APRA collects on is a big stream. All right, it's a significant stream. So you certainly, as soon as you put a song out, you want to jump on, log in, create an account if you haven't done it already, and register your song there. Best piece of advice as well is, if you're like, how? Literally, do what I do. go onto YouTube and do a how do I do this, and it will show you. All right. But yeah, so there's a lot of places to collect royalties. It's nigh on impossible for an indie artist to register at all of them, just because of the global footprint of music. But certainly, if you register your song at APRA, you're doing a pretty good job at collecting a good share of it. When you distribute your music through, Wings, as we spoke about, or TuneCore or DistroKid, that's another stream. They'll pay you a different kind of royalty through there. That's on the recorded audio side. So, you will be collecting at some of these places if you register correctly at those two. But that's where a music publisher comes in, is they go, hey, but there's so many other royalty bodies all around the world. You need a music publisher to do that. But that's kind of often the next step in someone's career.
Awesome. Tula has put a question here. Is there a radio play tracker?
Yeah, and only one person has it, and his name is Wes. So I've asked him for it, but he won't share it. So there's no way, there's no way to there's no streamlined way to find out how many times a song's being played a week that anyone has bar Wes. Okay, but what he generously does do is create this chart. So the chart shows us where, obviously, from 1 to 30, where your song is sitting, but it will not say how many plays it's had. Wes keeps that information to himself. And if he ends up listening to this, Wes, God bless you, my friend. I respect you, but I would certainly like access to that data. So he has that. No, the only other way to do it would be to literally go onto every single Australian Christian radio's website and look at all, and that often will show the songs they played and count. You'd have to do that. But there is a software that Wes has that does that for him, I believe.
That's amazing.
There's another question here from Leonie Robson. How do you communicate with YouTube? Okay, I'm just going to assume I get the frame for the question. I mean, you can let's make the app. Yeah, you can just reach out to their customer service team. Like most of the apps will have some sort of troubleshooting person. But I'm guessing you mean in terms of like pitching or helping or something. There's not really anything like that. Like you're kind of on your own. But yeah, if you like troubleshooting or something, yeah, I think there's like a customer service team that might get back to you in time. But in terms of like pitching and helping you or what, there's not really a team for that any person would just have access to. I think if that answers your question, but
that's awesome.
I think
this is great. Keep the questions coming, guys. If there's any more, this is your opportunity. So,
guys, I will just put it out there just before there's any more questions, or maybe that's the end. But guys, this is such an honor to have done this session, and I love this stuff. I love helping Christians first and foremost, and helping Jesus music rise. At the moment, country music is almost arguably the biggest music in the world. It was R&B and hip hop, but now it's country's having a moment. I believe that next it can be Christian, and I want to be part of that. And I hope we can all be part in seeing that a reality. Not just for our sake, but for the Lord's sake, right? So the world can hear the gospel. Yeah, look, I put my details in the chat, my Instagram and my email, and feel free to message me directly. And if there's something I can help you with, and it's within my means, I will do that. So, as I mentioned at the very start of the video, and I know that a few people have joined since then, but I'm managing worship artists and worship groups professionally. And that, every group and artist, it looks a little bit different on the arrangement. Some are like on a commission model where their success is my success. So, I don't get paid a salary from them, but like when they get paid, I get paid a percentage, just like a traditional manager. And then with some of the worship groups, I come on more like a staff member part-time. So like, if they're making an album, okay, great. Well, I might come on for 6 months, kind of like a day a week, that type vibe with the church. And I help them release their music successfully, or as I like to say, I help them navigate the music business. And really, I can't sit here and ever guarantee that someone's going to have 1 million streams or, a CCLI smash, but I can help them get set up for success and make sure all their songwriters are looked after, and the musicians are looked after, and all the contracts are correct. And because a lot of times I've seen, unfortunately, that it can be a pastoral fail. Church had the best intention. We make these albums, and I'm a church kid, I've been a part of some of them, but they can often leave often unintentionally, but it can leave a trail of people in their wake because they just don't know, right? So I'm hoping that I can help bring some of this expertise and actually help, like make it a win, not a loss. So that's just for some final bit of context there. Okay, I think one or two more questions here. I'm just looking at the comments. How do you advertise for YouTube? It is a little complicated, I will admit. But again, search a YouTube video, how to advertise on YouTube. You'd be surprised how many great industry experts will do that. And so there's instruction videos on how to do that. Better to have your personal name on a song or better to have a group name? Depends. We're seeing a lot of individual artists now, like Kari Jobe, Cody Carnes, Brandon Lake, etc. Whereas I feel like back in the day, it was all worship groups. It was all different churches. I just think there's just cycles and seasons, like there's trends. It's either or. I think, if it's a church which I'm releasing music, by and large, they've got a budget. They've got a bit more finance and resources behind it. Plus, there's an audience. There's the parishioners of that church. They might have 100, 200, 300, 400, 500 people in that church. There's an inbuilt group. So they've already got those inbuilt fans. So sometimes those worship projects are a little easier to get off the ground because the church is funding it and there's already a group of people that call that church home. Whereas doing it yourself, you're paying for it. You keep all the rewards or most of the rewards in a lot of the cases, but it is a bit harder. You're paying for it. It's just you. So I love collaboration, but there's no right or wrong. Some of the greatest artists, Michael W. Smith, far out. I mean, what amazing worship songs that have served the global church. So there's room for both.
That's awesome. I love that you're talking about, you're talking earlier about, I guess, the value of community in what we're doing, your friends and and can I just really encourage you? That's what the whole worship network started up. That was the heart behind it. I had a conversation with someone from a well-known church and I said, hey, can our worship teams get together? Can we learn from you and can you learn from us? And they said, no, we don't do that. I went, oh, okay. So I asked another church, hey, can we get together? Can we learn from you and you learn from us? No, we don't do that. I was like, oh, okay. So I felt like I was missing out, and I think the fullness of our calling is actually found in what other people can offer, So that's cool, that's what this is about. People can connect with people like you through this platform, through this network. We've had Matt on here as well, talking about, being a producer, but then there's actually other producers that are also connected in here. When you release a song like Tula has, pop it on here, pop it on the Facebook page and get it out there. One thing I've got to be careful about is I don't want this this is to champion the worship community. So it can't be just like, hey, let me advertise every single thing I'm doing 24 hours a day, but use it as a place to do that with everything else, use it as an opportunity to get out there,
I think you're doing that well, bro. Truly, Like it's amazing the variety that's on the page. People putting worship nights, training, sharing new projects. Like, dude, I think you're actually doing it. It's not even a hypothetical. So,
no, that's good. And the people that we've got on, I think most of the people that are here tonight are all very active, members of the network. There's 4,000 people on there. I've got about 300 on the list, but you just kind of wonder, 3,000 members, but how many of them are actually active in this, And I think the more active that we get, I mean, imagine if every single person in the worship network invited their worship teams to be a part of what was going on, and you had 2 people from your worship team joined, you know what I mean? Like, it's how active are we in building community? And I think, I hate the whole thing, like and share, like and subscribe. My kids just get on, YouTube shorts and like and subscribe. And I'm like, oh my gosh. But when you're saying that before, I'm like, there is actually the need to do that. And I remember having a conversation with Roma Waterman and she said to me, she goes, do you have a website? And I went, no, I don't want a website. She's like, why not? And I said, I just, that whole self-promotion thing's icky. I just don't like it. And she said, well, do you believe that what the Lord's calling you to do and the gift that the Lord's put on your life is valuable for other people? And I kind of went, yes. And she's like, well, then you have to. It's not a matter of whether you want to or not. It's like, you have to. If the Lord's given you something and you believe it is actually for the benefit of the body of Christ, if you've written a song, it's stewardship. That's what it is. It's stewarding the gift, and using the resources that we have available. So use this platform as the opportunity to do that. And you know what? And the more people that we get involved in, here it is, a big Worship Network plug now, but the more people that we get involved, the more producers that we have, the more marketing people that we have, the more musicians we have, the more people, industry experts that we have to actually sow into the community and grow and just do this together. There's actually some amazing, accomplished people that are a part of this network.
Big time.
Amazing people like yourself. And it's like every now and then people kind of come out of the woodwork and it's like, wow, you know what I mean? Like, where have you been hiding? This is what it's about, So let's just open up. Any more questions? Do we have any more questions before we kind of finish the night?
Right on 7:30, Josh. I think we did pretty good.
Well done.
Thanks for having me, guys. That was a lot of fun, at least for me. Hopefully it was for you too. But I'll see you guys on the AWN, and you'll often see me sharing and posting. But feel free to reach out. And Josh, thanks again so much, bro. You're a legend.
Mate, my pleasure. Thank you so much for being a part of what we've done tonight. And what we might do is we might call it a night for everyone. Get involved, ask questions, message Cameron, get involved with asking questions of one another, and, grow together on the Worship Network page. So we might leave it there. Thank you very much, Cam, mate, I love your passion in what you're doing as well. Let me just pray for everyone. And Cam, Father, I just thank you for Cam. Lord, I just thank you for the wealth of experience and knowledge that he's just so generously poured into us tonight, Father. I just pray that you help us to steward all of those things as we go along, Father. And we seek to release into our nation the things that you've actually put on the inside of us, Father. So bless all of these people. Bless their hands, bless their ministries, bless their families, Lord, every aspect of their lives in Jesus' name. Amen.